Hey guys, today a completely different topic than usual, and that is, will she or he change for me? I guess you already have a thought about this, and it won't be fundamentally wrong. We know that people can't change at the speed we would sometimes like them to. Especially with loved ones, it is much more the case that we tell ourselves that we don't really want to change them. Once we have a bond with someone, we see over more than with people we don't necessarily know now for a long time. But little by little, as it is in relationships, everyday life comes and the view on our partner changes. The great things that you saw in the beginning in the infatuation phase are suddenly less great, and suddenly you notice things that were there before, but you overlooked. Maybe you wanted to overlook them or thought they were just little things you could handle. But all of a sudden, certain things about her or him get on our nerves so much, and we have three choices. The first would be to say, this isn't going to work anymore, and bye. But that's usually not an option. After all, you got involved with each other and you don't want to break up over little things. And that's a good thing. There should be a certain hurdle, otherwise we'd all be commitment phobic, and trust in solid relationships would be a foreign word nowadays. But if it develops for you to something that is no longer a trifle, well then I tell you here at the point but already that it is an option that you should consider, because better now than in 20 years. Next. Option 2, you accept it and live with it. That used to be the way for me to go. Of course, occasionally we argued about something like that, but I always said to myself, that's just the way she is. And for the fact that she is like that and I accept it, she has to do the same with me. Result? She didn't change or think there was a problem, and I didn't change even though I was unhappy. I don't have to say anything more, do I? That's actually the worst way for all parties to go. What's the point of being in a relationship where you're stressed and you know it's not going to change? The solution would be to directly address how big of a problem this actually really is for you. Because just from complaining alone, sometimes it is not shown to the partner that it is generally a big problem for you. Mostly you argue then once properly about it, and if you see that it does not change, you grumble into your beard purely, become ever more small-mouthed, and are in the end only annoyed, because you eat the topic, instead of you communicate, in itself. Communication is everything. Your partner can't smell it if you're just in a bad mood or just reacting to her behavior because you think to yourself, you said it 3 weeks ago, now she's doing it again and you're not addressing it. Maybe do it when you both are not in a bad mood and she just didn't do it. Then there is the same atmosphere as when it happens at that moment. And then, of course, there is option 3. You work on it. Now you can understand this differently, depending on your experiences. Do you work on her or do you work on it together with her? The only right way is of course to want it together and to work on it. If you are the only person who wants it, it will be twisted to your disadvantage afterwards, and this will also happen if you persuade her or want it more than she does. We are all individuals, and even if we see ourselves as a couple, as a unit, a certain part of us is always from us, is still reserved to ourselves. Keyword, personal boundaries. Sure, they are much more open the closer we are to the person, but there is a fixed boundary within us where we never let anyone else in, and there we can share and be emotionally connected no matter how much. If certain ideas and desires don't originate within ourselves, then we don't stand behind them as much as we could. And in those moments when we have decided to do this for someone else in spite of everything, doubts arise. It is easier for us to deal with our own failure than if we were persuaded to do so by someone else. Inwardly we think that not we ourselves are to blame, but the other, and this feeling of disappointment in you do not want to trigger in your partner. Even though, in my opinion, everyone is responsible for their own made decisions. Taking away from a person a decision that is important for him or pushing him to the opposite of what he inwardly thinks is right, all this costs trust, and trust is the most important raw material in your relationship. You never want to get carried away with an action that takes away trust. Because lost trust weighs much heavier than newly gained trust. So, to get back on topic. You want your partner or ex to change for you? Forget the thought. The question is, how well do you really know them? And is the direction in which you are seeking change perhaps one that she herself might prefer? Can you perhaps help her to determine this for herself? And realize, being able to address a problem within a relationship is the basic prerequisite for the relationship itself. What do you want with a partner with whom you can't or don't dare to do that? You have the chance to take the relationship to a whole new level or to realize that it is not for eternity. Find out if she is open to it. If there is a clear no, you have your answer and you have to see if it is worth it to you or if you can change or improve something about yourself that will make the situation better for both of you. Sure, you may not be able to talk to your ex about such things anymore, but either way, it has to be their decision to want to change. They don't have to have made it for themselves, but they can't close themselves off to it completely either. Motivating someone to do something they see as an improvement for themselves is not manipulation. Convincing someone that something would be better for everyone. It is. And there is a fine line between manipulation and motivation, which not many people recognize. You are always too sure of yourself at that moment and, as always, I advise you to take yourself out of it and try to put yourself in your counterpart's head. Approach the matter calmly and maturely. Think what your best self is able to give in order to solve all this. But also determine for you what the minimum is, what you expect for it from you, and don't play that out directly. Do something for it and see her reaction to it. Example X, you are in no contact, have stopped your advances to her and are working on your attachment knowledge, seeing a psychologist to work through your fear of loss, and have taken a new job that is fulfilling and makes for a better life. How does she react to this? From you? Maybe not at all yet. But should she contact you and you tell her face to face or she gets told independently of you? Don't you think she'll be happy to see or hear that you're working on yourself? That maybe it will spur her to see the good in you again and to work on herself. And if all this is not the case, what exactly do you still want with her? I know that if you have been abandoned, her value to you is immeasurably high. But that changes again when your self-worth rises and you reach or surpass her in terms of eye level. Then you also want to see something from her, when you can already bring so much new, good for her to the table. It's exactly the same within relationships. You can point it out to them, show them, and tell them what you want. But if the ideas don't come from them directly, you get yourself into more trouble and problems afterward, only to still not get what you were hoping for. And what is a relationship worth if you have to pretend for your partner or vice versa? Think about yourself at all times. Think about you and what you can offer. Increase that as much as you can, and if she goes along, good. If not, then live with it or leave for something better. That is your decision. Not whether she changes or not. Unfortunately, you have only limited influence on that. Take care, and until the next video.